everyone. I'm IyaSokoya Karade, Partnership and Recruitment Manager for the BLOC Foundation. I'm also a proud construction professional with a passion for building stronger, more inclusive pathways for women, minorities, and veterans in the construction industry. I want to welcome you to Trade Talk, where we bring you real conversations with leaders, innovators, and change makers shaping the future of construction. We're here to inspire, connect, and open doors for the generations of skilled professionals. I'm excited to have you all with us. Let's get started. So today we're honored to have Timothy Awojobi, the dynamic CEO and founder of TTA Empire, a true leader in the construction and workforce development space. Timothy brings a wealth of experience in building strong teams, empowering communities, and creating pathways for success, especially for veterans and underrepresented groups. His commitment to excellence, innovation, and impact has made TTA Empire a rising force in the industry. We're excited to dive into this conversation. I've talked previously. I'm very inspired by your background. We want to journey through these insights and his vision for the future. Welcome. Okay, I promise I will get better at this as we go along. You are my first, so I just want to thank you for being the charter club of our show, Trade Talk.
You're doing a great job, so nothing to worry about.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to get right into your background and mission. So you founded TTA Empire after your own journey, which is quite interesting. Can you tell us all what inspired you to start the company?
First things first, it's a pleasure to be on this wonderful interview with you. As well as you guys have a wonderful foundation going on. My team did a lot of ample research prior to this call, and it's just awesome to see a lot of Black professionals like yourself and myself, leading the way, paving the way in the Black and Brown community. So a little bit about myself, I'm a 6-year military veteran. I served in the United States Air Force for a couple of years. I have a lot of, domestic missions I got involved in. A lot of training, a lot of ample training we did in the Air Force from 2016 to 2022. While I'm in the military, it was very rewarding. At the same time, very challenging. And I knew that as a veteran, as a minority veteran, there's a lot of things that had to be done, had to be changed, and had to be, directed upon. Unfortunately, uh, my last deployment in August 2021 took that toll not only on my physique, but also on my mental health as a military veteran. I watched a lot of veterans, get abused, and I just knew that their voice wasn't being heard. And I told myself that when I get out the military, I will launch a nonprofit to not only empower the military and veteran community, but empower more Black men and women, and of course, people of color that unfortunately voices were never heard in the military. My journey has been very rough being a young Black man in the military, being, misunderstood, being told about, and our culture doesn't matter, right? It's something that, we're still talking about in modern day. And I knew that the only way to impact and empower this community as a whole is to launch a nonprofit. So TTA Empire, is a 501c3, a minority-owned, disabled veteran-owned nonprofit organization. Our goal is to empower the youth, empower our community, and impact others into understanding that, our voice matters. What we need to do is not only empower each other, but empower each other through education, through construction, right, through training, through ample amount of resources, whether it's housing initiatives, housing allocation, or mental health programs, right? Our nonprofit organization, we work based on partnerships. We have a huge team of mental health affiliates, my banking finance partners to not only help us combat these goals, but to help us understand that we're all in this together. Through this wonderful partnership with the BLOC Foundation, we're able to understand that, it's not a one-man team or one-woman army. We're in this together as one fight, one mission. And I'm happy to be on this call, and I'm happy to move forward and uh,
A little bit about the transition from the military to civilian life. And I know that you delve deeply into education. So I want you to talk a little bit about your education background. But I want you to talk about construction as a natural fit for veterans in their civilian life. What type of training goes into military life that is transferable into the construction industry, and how organizations such as yours and the BLOC Foundation can build build the bridge between those two life experiences.
that's a wonderful question. I always tell people life is all about bridging the gap. Education is something that unfortunately our community, the Black community, through normal life occurrences wasn't really taken serious. I'm the first person in my family to graduate a college degree. One thing I learned in the military that I share with others that look like you and I is that education is powerful, right? There's no money in the world that could take away education from a Black man or woman. We've been taught to work, and put school in the back burner. With my nonprofit foundation, with the BLOC Foundation, um, you know, construction is everything, right? Construction is something that most people of color couldn't even get into, couldn't even go to school to even obtain a certificate or even a credential. The military taught me to move through perseverance, move with dedication, move with ambition, right? Always have a drive. That ambition is what's going to get you far. And not for nothing, move with responsibility and integrity. Construction is something that, values integrity, values responsibility, and values perseverance. One thing I learned in the military again is never letting go of your fears and never willing to stop what you want to do, right? Construction is something that is strong. It empowers strong people to get this trade, get this cert, and possibly, listen, one day maybe formulate their own construction company. How many Black-owned construction companies are out there? I can't really name 10, right? Barely five. So with this partnership and with this training is not only to empower, our veterans and our people of color, but to kind of give them that strength to, hey, one day you could possibly start your own construction company or your own company of choice, right? So it's the one thing I learned in the military is to, have that strong backbone, right? And
Mhm.
you're your strongest, best supporter.
Mhm. Okay. And, and when you spoke about integrity and commitment, a lot of the codes and safety and the not just in there's like the permeation of what you do as a team member and how that impacts the ultimate goal of whatever it is, if it's some type of movement mission, if it is a building, if it is some type of unified effort, the outcome is very important, like at high degrees, right? When you're constructing homes for people to live in and buildings for people to work in, so much goes into those logistics, from the design phase to turning the keys over, from inspections and all those things in the middle. So tell me a little bit about how the structure, the discipline of the military has is a transferable skill in exactly what you talked about, being a part of teams that have to produce projects, be they infrastructure, buildings, commercial, residential, government, schools, whatever. How are you trained as a veteran to be able to really adhere to those type of strict codes, deadlines? Like you said, sometimes it's backbreaking work, sometimes it's mental, a lot of mental work. Tell me a little bit, talk to me from that experience.
Well, that's another wonderful question. One thing that us veterans and current active duty members are taught is that everything you do is 80% mental, 20% physical. Sometimes it could be 90% mental, 10% physical. Where I'm going with this statement is, we were trained to give 110% in everything we put our mind to. And that can constitute to construction, right? I was in the call the other day with a couple of folks across the state, and they were asking like, hey, how can we find more people to not only represent our company, but to stay and give us 110%? And my answer off the back was hire a veteran. And they were like, why? I said, simple. Veterans were trained to never quit, right? Through the training we received is, quitting is the last resort, and failure is never an option. Now, in construction, it's the same discipline applies, right? If you're working on a task or a job or a project, you're not going to quit midway. You're going to continue going.
That's right.
And these are what veterans were trained to do, to never quit. So you want to make sure, as a construction official or owner of any type of business where projects are an ideal task, you want to make sure that your people don't quit on you. So with that being said, without a doubt, veterans will not only give you 110%, but you don't have to worry about them quitting on you or your team.
Mhm. Right, so it's important to develop your mental state. And I like the fact that you did it in an academic. You're doing it academically, you're doing it in a business environment and in an advocacy environment, right? So those are very important support systems for leadership, which is what you talked about. Leadership is very important. And even though you might be on a team, everybody should be a leader in their individual roles. And veterans have a lot of experience in taking ownership and leadership in their respective duties, right? Because at the end of the
Absolutely.
day, you have to answer for yourself, right?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
beautiful. Thank you for that. So let's talk a little bit about your relationship with the BLOC Foundation. And I know this is fairly new, and you know a little bit about us, we know a little bit about you. And like, what do you see going forward, like how we can continue to support each other, but also be able to meet our individual missions out in the community and serving various populations?
Another wonderful question. So, it's a luxury. I say that because it's very rare you come across a lot of similar nonprofits with similar missions and similar engagements. Our one of the our board members I hired on our board, Ms. Lori Ann Boyd, who works very well with the BLOC Foundation, reached out. I've known Lori Ann for over 10 years. I look at her like a sister and also a mentor. And she reached out and said, "Hey, Timothy, the BLOC Foundation will be a great partner with you guys. There are a lot of similar goals and interests in line that will fall in line with TTA Empire's mission." I
Okay.
said, "Okay, let's connect." Meeting the team, of course, meeting you, IyaSokoya, you're a stomper, you're a staple. And it's a precious gem to meet other people that think the way you think. And the minute we had that meeting a couple of days ago, I told my team, we had a board meeting. I said, this will be a wonderful, wonderful partnership. I do believe that we can empower the community together. Um, like I said before, not only veterans, but the Black and Brown community. Um, I do believe we can support their agendas, support the initiatives, and create wonderful programs together, right? Everything is the teamwork makes the dream work.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how big or small you are as an organization, um, one thing I learned through effective mentorship is you can never have too much partners, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the more partners you have and the more teamwork you have, the less stress on you and your team, and the bigger the impact, right? The bigger the impact, the bigger the cause, the bigger the conclusion. So I do believe that the BLOC Foundation and TTA Empire, we can definitely not only knock on doors, but assist with missions across the state, and hopefully one day grow it outside of New Jersey and become a nationwide or worldwide organization.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, absolutely. We definitely, um, you know, running, participating in, supporting a nonprofit is challenging, right? In itself. And partnerships are an excellent way to get a lot done together. And one of the things that you talked about in the future of TTA was doing a housing, accommodating housing and affordable housing development in the community, which is a similar, which is, I would say, the same as the BLOC Foundation. And with a lot of grants throughout New Jersey, um, they encourage us to work together, right? And because together we have more resources, we have more access. And one of the things that we look for TTA to be able to do is to help us to get veterans into our workforce development training program and get them certified in the construction industry. I mean, knowing that, and one of the things I like to always say is, I respect the training, hard and intense training that veterans have gone through, and you come out with a lot of skills, but we don't come out with a network, and or we may not be as socialized to network. How do we depend on people other than other veterans, right? How do we broaden that circle? So we look to TTA to be able to help us to get veterans into this Department of Labor training program that's funded by one of their grants. But ultimately, once you start to build or get into building, right, we want to be able to offer sustainable work to those trainees that came through your communications, trainees that came through our program, and, hopefully to be able to continue this so that we can offer career opportunities for veterans who they just love it. That's something that they love to do for whatever reason. We want to tap into that on a mental and emotional level, which is very important. I don't really care what you do. If you do construction, you have to bring your whole self to that. I also work in volunteer on in a group that deals with suicide in the construction industry, right? So I definitely relate to that aspect of dealing with life's pressures, stresses, and our emotional and mental mind states, and how that impacts us on the job, right? And also, how do we take the compassion that you're sharing, that you're describing, that you bring to TTA as a leader, that compassion to be able to create workplaces that, as you shared earlier, are inclusive, and not just based on race, gender, mindset, experiences, class, all kinds of stuff, because every rich child doesn't necessarily want to do what their mother or father did. They want to be artists, dancers, they want to maybe be working construction because they're a tinkerer, they like to build stuff, and so being open to all of those differences, people like you who have that diverse experience and take on a leadership role and take on the labor of creating a foundation, like our founders, Natalie and Prasak and Natasha Davis, to be able to say, hey, let's make this happen. Let's put something together. Let's put our labor of love, right? And make these things happen. So I'm excited for us to come together as two organizations under that umbrella. So let's talk about the impact of your program. Now, I noticed on your website, you got some awesome data points. I love data. I love to look on the website and see, how many, what the digits are, right? Because ultimately, when we do these grants, when we're reaching out to funders, when we're looking out to even partnerships, we want to know that we're matched. And I see that you got some great hits on your website. Tell me a little bit about your impact so far in the community. You don't have to tell me the numbers, but just tell me how you hitting them out the park over there.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, it's awesome you say that. And you said something magical just now, a couple minutes ago, that your network, right? So another thing I learned is that in these spaces, your network becomes your net worth. You have to grow your network, right? It's nothing that causes anything to get out there, boost your network, build your network, and talk to folks, right? A lot of times, people form these nonprofits and get into for-profit businesses and don't understand that you have to literally build on like your network. You have to build that rapport, build those connections, build the trust with the community. If you don't have that community trust, how could you trust yourself in your own organization? And that's what I did with TTA. I wanted to build that community trust and get out there, knock on doors, let people know who we are, as well as elected officials, right? Elected officials, let them know that we're in it to win it, making sure that we're making ends meet and making it make sense, right? Not on paper, but in person. Our first year, I'll be honest, it was a disaster, right? It's like another hurricane came through the state of New Jersey. It was a disaster because we got more no's than yeses, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're fresh and on the ground running, you're gonna always get a no. But something I learned through leadership management and nonprofit management, IyaSokoya, is that no's are good, right? A lot of no's can be good. It can make you better. It can make you more aware and make you more stronger. Um, the second year around, we kind of took off. We're like a rocket ship in outer space. We took off and literally just kept it going, kept it going, kept it going. Every morning, every night, we're sending out email blasts. We're speaking to our local mayors, our local city officials, our local homeless shelters. And yeah, last year alone, we impacted about 2,500 veterans within a year, from homeless veterans to mentally ill veterans to mentally disabled veterans to veterans in general. You have to make it make sense. And if it doesn't.
I love the fact that you spoke about and have brought to mind how we deal with rejection, no's, right? I'm very big again on bringing one's whole self to any project, experience, effort, right? I think everything is valuable, even that part of us that we have been told is unwanted, right? Is not useful. Leave that at home. Don't bring that here. That, right? Learning how to deal with no's. And so our challenge with veterans is, their lack of sureness when it comes to participating in the construction industry. They may have some apprehension about, I hope that's not on I saw a little 10-minute warning. I hope that's not on our screen. But
Yeah,
anyway,
it's not on the screen, but it's reminding us.
yes, okay. So for all our viewers out there, if you got the 10-minute warning, you already know we about to wrap it up. So anyway, yeah, so the hesitation about the construction industry, what do you think might be some apprehensions coming out of the veteran community in terms of transitioning into the construction industry?
That's a question. But a lot of veterans come home and the military to civilian transition is probably the hardest transition for a veteran. I say that because it's learning how to get out of that militaristic, mentality, and come back into civilian society. A lot of vets, unfortunately, fear a lot of rejection from employers because either A, they might be mentally ill, um, or B, they might not be fully equipped for that job. No matter how much experience they gain in the military, they may not be equipped for that job they're applying for. A lot of times we meet up with veterans that are
Now,
fully
when you
disabled.
say equipped, do you mean like training wise, or what do you
Yep.
mean by equipped? So just give me a
So,
insight into
so
that.
they don't fit that culture, right? They don't fit that
Um,
office workspace culture, which is why, ironically and economically speaking, construction will be a great fit for most veterans
mhm,
because you're not forced to, transform into an office space, typical American culture. You're coming into a space where you can be yourself and be optimistic and challenge yourself with the workplace.
mhm.
Sometimes, changing who you are can be the worst thing you could possibly do. Being who you are can be easier for you. And being yourself in this type of environment, in a construction environment, is even better. Other times we met veterans that also either have disability issues and they get denied, right? There goes that no again.
Yeah.
That employer may say, you're not fit for work. So how do you answer that to a veteran that has to feed a family of four or a family of 10 or feed himself?
So, I mean, so to your point, then it's incredibly important that organizations like ours are receptive, open, and have sound programs in place to be able to support veterans through their transition. And so I really appreciate you as a leader, what you're doing, and want to be able to continue to work with you so that we can be a support to these veterans and help them to take advantage of these opportunities and get the help that they need. There's many other VSOs across New Jersey, as you know, and I'm sure we're going to not only, be working with each other, but we'll be on the scene with a lot of them and reinforcing each other. I love the fact that you spoke about and have brought to mind how we deal with rejection, no's, right? I'm very big again on bringing one's whole self to any project, experience, effort, right? I think everything is valuable, even that part of us that we have been told is unwanted, right? Is not useful. Leave that at home. Don't bring that here. Right? Learning how to deal with no's. And so our challenge with veterans is, their lack of sureness when it comes to participating in the construction industry. They may have some apprehension about. I hope that's not on I saw a little 10-minute warning. I hope that's not on our screen. But
Yeah,
anyway,
it's not on the screen, but it's reminding us.
yes, okay. So for all our viewers out there, if you got the 10-minute warning, you already know we about to wrap it up. So anyway, so the hesitation about the construction industry, what do you think might be some apprehensions coming out of the veteran community in terms of transitioning into the construction industry?
That's a question. But a lot of veterans come home and the military to civilian transition is probably the hardest transition for a veteran. I say that because it's learning how to get out of that militaristic, mentality, and come back into civilian society. A lot of vets, unfortunately, fear a lot of rejection from employers because either A, they might be mentally ill, um, or B, they might not be fully equipped for that job. No matter how much experience they gain in the military, they may not be equipped for that job they're applying for. A lot of times we meet with veterans that are
Now,
fully
when you
disabled.
say equipped, do you mean like training wise, or what do you
Yep.
mean by equipped? So just give me a
So,
insight into
so
that.
they don't fit that culture, right? They don't fit that
Um,
office workspace culture, which is why, ironically and economically speaking, construction will be a great fit for most veterans
mhm,
because you're not forced to, transform into an office space, typical American culture. You're coming into a space where you can be yourself and be optimistic and challenge yourself with the workplace.
mhm.
You know, sometimes, changing who you are can be the worst thing you could possibly do. Being who you are can be easier for you. And being yourself in this type of environment, in a construction environment, is even better. Other times we met veterans that also either have disability issues and they get denied, right? There goes that no again.
Yeah.
That employer may say you're not fit for work. So how do you answer that to a veteran that has to feed a family of four or a family of 10 or feed himself?
So, I mean, so to your point, then it's incredibly important that organizations like ours are receptive, open, and have sound programs in place to be able to support veterans through their transition. And so I really appreciate you as a leader, what you're doing, and want to be able to continue to work with you so that we can be a support to these veterans and help them to take advantage of these opportunities and get the help that they need. There's many other VSOs across New Jersey, as you know, and I'm sure we're going to not only be working with each other, but we'll be on the scene with a lot of them and you know, reinforcing each other. Tell us how we can get in touch. How can we support you out in the world of, you know, how can others outside of the BLOC and TTA support you, your Instagram, your website, how they can donate to your organization? Just give me all the 411 so I can put it out there and we can get you some support.
Thank you. Yeah, so you know, being a nonprofit, you know this very well. It's hard right now, especially with the grants being on pause on a federal level. But that doesn't stop us from receiving donations on any level. So we're receiving donations, you know, whether it's $1 to anything you can do. Please donate. We're at TTA-Empire.org. Donate anything you can. Any donation matters. We got to get these veterans off the streets. Right now in New Jersey, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of veterans that are homeless and suffering from mental health episodes, and they don't have the financial stability or sustainment to be equipped for normal civilian society. So any donation counts, any dollar counts. If you want to get involved in our mission, outside of donations, reach out to our website, again at TTA-Empire.org. Get involved in our mission. We're never going to turn down a volunteer. Right now, we have a full team. We have 37 volunteers from ages 18 all the way up to age 71, literally 71 years old. And we need all the support we can do, all the support we can get. Again, you know, IyaSokoya, with these partnerships, it makes our lives and your lives easier. So for your network, let them know that we're looking for sponsors, donors, and supporters on a daily basis.
You have an event coming up. Tell us a little bit about the event. Give us the date. What we doing? What we doing?
That's it. That's it. So we have a wonderful event coming up. It's a fundraiser, right? We love fundraisers. We have an event coming up in Harrison at the Spanish Pavilion. Great food. It's from 12 to 3 on Saturday, May 17th. So come out, bring your family, bring your friends, bring your networks, bring your organizations. Come donate. See what we have to say. Our last event was a success. We had a U.S. Senator Andy Kim came by. We had people from the Governor Murphy's office came by. So, you know, we have a great support from multiple communities, but there's no better support than our community partners. So come out, support us, and if interested, register on our website.
Perfect. And what's the dress code? Because if you don't know anything about the BLOC, when we step out, the BLOC
That's
is
it.
hot. Okay.
That's
So
it. That's it.
let us know what's the dress code. We doing dinner, formal,
So
casual.
it's a luncheon. It's a luncheon fundraiser. It's a
Okay.
restaurant. So
All right.
just to impress, right? It's a restaurant. Come
You
get
ain't
your
gotta
drink.
tell us twice. We love to impress. Okay, it's all
Yes.
right. But you know
Yes.
what? We love to show up. We love
Thank you.
to support and
Amen.
bring the energy, bring the life force. But
Mhm.
thank you so much, Brother Tim. It has been a pleasure speaking with you. And I can't wait to share this information. I'll make sure to put your website and all that stuff at the end of this video once I put everything together so
Thank
that
you.
we can continue to inspire people to come out and join the mission to heal.
Our
And
Instagram, TTA_Empire and a self-made _Tim. So any other questions, you can't find a website, go on our Instagrams.
perfect. Thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed this conversation.
Absolutely.